Welcome back to Chat Pack. We took out the live part, which I think is going to work better for us. This is a show where we talk about this, that, and the other things, keeping it simple for you guys. It's just Trevor and I today as we try and get the old band back together. The big reason why we fell off doing the podcast was everyone's lives were going in four different directions because, of course, there was the four of us. We've been talking about doing this for over a year now, right? Like ever since we stopped doing it, we've always talked about going back into it, if I recall correctly.
Yeah, I mean, we've always just been kind of texting back and forth about it and just spitballing ideas here and there, trying to get something going. So here we are.
Well, and then on top of that, you were at the end of Chat Pack, you were about to undergo a major life change and have undergone a major life change. I was still trying to figure out what was going on. Ben was also, I mean, we were all trying to figure it out, and then you were the only one that ended up leaving.
Well, my bad, I guess.
I wouldn't say you're bad, but of course, yes, the four of us, we used to do the podcast live from the living room of, man, we still talk about mantras all the time. I don't know if you reminisce about it very often, but I mean, we find ourselves, I just remember us talking about mantras like all the time last year and all the time. I find myself thinking about it quite frequently.
See, it's funny. I've been pretty busy with life and stuff like that, so I don't spend, too much time dwelling on the past, but just the other day, I happened to come across some old pictures and some different videos and things of all of us just hanging out in the living room, and I was like, man, that was just really fucking cool to live, all four of us in that house like that. So
it was an awesome experience because you just hear of these roommate nightmare stories. Like I don't know, and like when I was an RA too, like you just hear about all these like people that are crappy roommates, and like if we ever like had any beef or anything like that, we would be able to handle it. That's just what blows my mind about when I hear some of these stories. It's like, how is that your mindset? Like you're sharing a space with, how X amount of people. You're gonna have to have some sacrifices, and it's like you have your room, that's your space, and no one can tell you how to deal with that space. But in terms of just coexisting in an environment, you would just hear some of these like things that people thought were just gonna happen, and it's like, what? Like how did you think that was gonna be anywhere close to
how that was going to go?
Yeah, acceptable.
You're going to have to do dishes. You're going to have to wash your laundry. Like,
yeah, and it's like if you are leaving a mess, like, of course people are going to, we're not your mom, but yeah, we're still going to be mad. Like, it's interesting now we all went through the phase where mom was always telling you what to do, but then I think it's a different story for people when it's their friends or their roommates, but it's like, yo, to stop messing around, stop being disgusting.
Like cleaning up after yourself and bathe.
Well, and just like also respecting like shared things or like people's space or just like things too, or it's just I don't know, it's just you just hear some of the craziest stories, and I don't know, or at least maybe I did from some people. But anyway, yeah, if you're joining us for the first time, we talk about literally almost anything. I think we usually go on to our hobbies because I'm definitely going to ask you a couple of things that are hobby related, a lot of entertainment stuff. But the point of the podcast is just honestly for us to hang out and have a good time, tell you guys about what we do and what we like, and hope that you guys and gals out there or whatever you identify as is like the same. So, but I mentioned, Trevor, that you were at the end of Chat Pack. You were about to undergo one of probably, I would say, the biggest life changing event in your life so far. I mean, obviously, you know a lot more about your own life than me, but what you've done and what you've been doing for the past 2 years. I mean, you've you've gotten quite the list. So why don't you tell the people a little bit about what you've done in postgraduate life?
Well, if I could talk to the people here for a minute. No, I was gonna say we're a few minutes in. Should we have introduced ourselves?
Yeah, actually,
we're kind of talking about chat
great.
pack and
Yeah,
things like
I know.
that.
We just went, and I just totally skipped. I just broke all of my radio hosting rules right there. Of course, I'm Paul Holden.
Come on.
I'm out of the game too long. Of course, one member of the chat pack, usually joined by our friends Caleb and Ben as well. We'll eventually get them on the horn, but I'm not lying when I say this. And some people might think I am, but Caleb is on his way to go dig up dinosaur bones, and I promise you that is not just one of our random things like when we sent Ben off into exile when we were recording the show in the second season. But no, he's on his way to Montana because one of his bandmates is what's their paleontologist? What, I feel like that's wrong. What is I know archaeologist is close, but what's someone who studies dinosaurs?
Yeah, I thought it was paleontologist.
Paleontologist sounds right.
I mean, paleo. Yeah. I don't know. That sounds right to me. Jurassic Park stuff.
Yeah, Jurassic Park stuff. If we know anything, if we've learned anything from sci-fi, we won't create dinosaurs, but I wouldn't be surprised. But and then of course Ben Colvin, everyone's favorite old man, is still working in Columbus, and it just seems to be off grid and hard to usually get a hold of because he's actually supposed to be here in Chicago. Brief thing: I moved to Chicago in May, but I stayed in Athens, did a bunch of radio stuff for a bit, and now I'm up here. Ben's also my roommate again, so I'm sure once he gets up here, he'll be back on the show because I literally will be like, "Hey Ben, come be on the show. You don't really get much of a choice." Well, I guess he does,
Yeah.
but we like to get everyone back together, and God knows when Caleb's going to be back. So we all were talking, and Trevor was the consistent one, and I should let you introduce yourself first, Trevor. So I'm gonna shut up.
Yeah, well, I was gonna say there when we were discussing getting this together, and you were like, "Yeah, I think everyone wants to do it, but Caleb's supposedly digging up dinosaurs, and then Ben's wherever." And I was like, "Wait a second, doesn't Ben live with you, and can't you just drag him into the room and put his face into a mic?"
I wish I could, but no. So I'm living with two of my best friends from high school. I have a new roommate. We have a different dog, a bunch of different dogs in the Chat Pack family. Dennis is back with his actual owner. I now have my dog Dot, who's currently on her back with a paw upside down. She's just shooting a paw up in the air, so I better give her some belly scratches. But and then you have not one but two dogs, which I want to get into as part of your post grad adventures, because out of nowhere I knew of Copper, but I don't even know the name of the new pup. So let's get back in that. How about you actually introduce yourself here about almost 10 minutes into the podcast, and we'll keep rolling from there.
Yeah. So as on-air talent Paul Holden mentioned, I'm Trevor Heim. Typically, when we're doing our live show from the living room, I was the technical person who was kind of more behind the scenes and making sure everything ran smoothly. So it's kind of cool. I like this format so far. We can kind of just get everything ready and then just hang out for an hour or so, and I like it so far, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's one of the big things I'm excited about the podcast is, in reality, we do have, I think we have some good ideas, and I think some stuff that we want to try and do, and I think we're gonna experiment some more, especially with the way my life is shaking out to be now. But it's also just a great way for us to catch up. I mean, we text and have our group chats and everything, but it's a lot different than hopping on the line, talking for an hour or whatever, however long we're going to go today, and just catch up on stuff. So I'm excited about it too. And don't worry, you're not getting out of your technical role, because you got to teach me stuff. And, because I think, what we wanted to do in college, I still want to. And I think now we're also entering points where we can. But it's just a matter of
For sure.
the passion being there for everybody, and it's 100% okay if it's not. And I'm saying, in terms of streaming video games,
Yeah.
doing extra web content, which, ideally in a perfect world, we get some momentum, keep doing this, start slow with the podcast. And then, once I can get some new gear, and now with a bunch of new, E3's coming up, which we're going to talk about, Trevor, because I know with all these video games and with my setup and the way I'm doing work right now, I have an opportunity to at least try it. And I mean, we have a foundation on Twitch. I don't know how many of those subscribers will hang around, will come back, but that foundation is there on Twitch. And, just to send a feeler out, I'm going to, that's going to be old news by the time this airs, because I think we're going to throw this up on Friday. That's going to be the plan, I think, right? Try and get this up there.
Yeah, I mean, if we can. That was kind of, I was going to say, too, you're just talking about the passion. I feel like I've been pushing the hardest to get this going just because, like you said, it's nice to get on and catch up a little bit, but I definitely think there is potential here for, we put our heads together, we might be able to do something pretty cool.
Well, and I agree, and I think we have so many elements and so many connections that would appeal to different audiences who seek out internet content in streaming. I mean, just to the stuff that I was thinking, I'm in that I'm on that video game side, but I mean, Caleb and his roommates are all musicians, and I mean, if they would get in, if we could stream some of that like we should have been doing a while ago, and Ben's really, Ben's been playing a lot more StarCraft, so I was thinking it'd be cool to do a series of Ben actually attempting to teach me to play StarCraft or something like that. And then, and like I was telling you before we started recording, I was looking at, I've joined the Mario Baseball subreddit, and I posted like a month ago, and it was just a feeler thing. And like, and I think I'm going to revisit it, is of actually trying to set up a Mario Baseball league, but do it, with stats and commentary and stuff like that, and keep them simple, 5-inning games, do 3 games, and stream them, and then just release them with stuff. But I still have so much to learn, and awesome. I'm just like, I just get intimidated by it, but I want to learn, but I also, then my brain is like, I just get down on myself, like, how do those graphics, like, how would we make them? I would have, I want to learn how to make them, and I know that like, oh, you got to go into After Effects and like, do that. But it's like, okay, that's great. I can open up After Effects, but if I just look at it, you know what I mean? I'm not going to be able to do anything with it. So
yeah, the magic doesn't just happen on its own.
Yeah, exactly. But that's why it's great to, where it's nice to have you there. I mean, at least how to put, if we get graphics, and once we do that, you know how to do stream overlays, which I want to learn. And honestly, the tools that they give you just to at least start streaming on Xbox and PS4, all I really need to do to start doing stuff is to connect the chat pack login, and then I could really start streaming some stuff. I mean, Ben and I were playing Apex nightly for about a month, so it's like, why aren't we attempting to stream this? I mean, we'd have to work out the video stuff. Video, I think, is going to come down the line. High quality video. I mean, stuff like that, because the thing is, this will be grassroots, and having to start everything up and pay for it all is, a whole different story. But there's just there is a bunch of opportunity there with our friends and what we're interested in. God dang it, the Rockies just lost. I had it on in the background, completely different. But they're in Chicago, actually. I'm going to go see them at Wrigley Field tomorrow, will be after this.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so I'm excited. But no, I mean, that's the thing. It's just, there's so many cool things that I think we can do, and I hope that we do, because at the end of the day, if we could just carve out a small piece of the internet and make it our own, that's really all I want. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like it doesn't have to be a ton, but if you can get a dedicated Patreon group, basically, because that would be the site and the stuff that I'd want to use. And I think it's there. I don't know. I mean, I'm also. Do you feel like we're in the world today? There's too much of that.
You know, I don't know. I feel like there's so much that people sort of go and find their corner, and maybe not corner. They go and find their people, I guess, and like the things that they're into, and they kind of stick around that. And so it's a bit hard to just like break in and take over the internet, if you will. Like there's so much content now that like I don't think anyone can really be like the most popular thing in the world. But you can be the most popular with like your fan base of people who are into it, kind of a thing.
Exactly.
I've actually been thinking about this quite a bit at work because my work's actually pretty sweet. They give us like Spotify Premium, since like a majority of the work we do is just at a computer by ourselves, just working, So they hook us up with Spotify Premium so we can listen to music and listen to whatever. And I've been actually listening to quite a few podcasts, and you start to find the ones that you like and the people that you vibe with, and then you just keep re-upping on, a new episode comes out. Oh, new episode, let me go listen to it, that kind of thing. No more new episodes, let me go listen to some of my old favorites, like stuff like that. So I would love to be able to connect with people like on that level.
Yeah, no, and that's exactly the way I look at it. We don't need to have ninja level streams. We don't need to be the front page of Reddit every day. Like my favorite podcast that I've been listening, and I subscribe to on Patreon. I mean, they have a good following from being so involved in the games industry. But I mean, when you look at their YouTube videos and the content they put out a different daily show on top of all this stuff. I mean, it's not gangbusters. I mean, they've said it themselves. Most of their stuff comes from their audio, which is why I was telling you at the beginning of the show. That's my top focus, is to get a good mic going, because I want to do some other stuff on my own too to see where that takes me. But like, you're absolutely right, man. There's the communities out there can form, and I think we're there. And I that's the thing. It's just to bring in people that are interested in what we do and just like what we do, because and I think everyone would say this about any of their friends group, but I'll say it anyway. We have a great dynamic and so many different interests and things like that each person brings to the table, that we had some interests like that. And the other thing is, it's like when I would put these on Facebook, like when I would, and I would be focused on me, but like when I would live stream us going live, I mean, the engagement, there was engagement. That's the only sign you need, because like for so long at my job, like the one thing that was hard for doing my radio show is I did feel like I was talking to nobody. You know what I mean? Even though I knew,
yeah, that's tough.
I knew people were out there, and like I know people listen and follow. It's so hard to keep that up, but it's just like, so any form of engagement, whether it was a phone call, a message on Facebook, I mean, it just changes your entire perception on that, on what you're doing. So I mean, I'm just, again, and this isn't going to happen next month. It isn't going to happen right away, but I mean, I just think there's something, and we hope that you guys are if you're coming back, on the off chance you are, shout out to our boy from London there,
I was just thinking about that as you were talking about that. I'm like, I still tell people stories about that kid that was like, he was our biggest fan on the Twitch channel.
Yeah, and but it's just my philosophy on streaming games is so much different now. I used to think, it's not about how good you are at the game. It is about the experience that you create for the audience. So I mean, this going forward, and with the I hope that we can grow into this, and it's going to take more than us, but it might just be the Paul and Trevor show for a little bit, but that'll be all right. I mean, we'll make it work, and I mean, because everyone's got their own things going on. Again, I'm not trying to take shots at Ben and Caleb, but
Ooh, dis. You hear that, Betty Kev? Wrecked.
Because let's be honest, if I was gonna shit on them, I would shit on them to their faces anyway. So
Yeah.
I wouldn't be too worried about it. But yeah, so I guess that's kind of the catch you up on the chatback spiel. But like, you know, I got this vast lineup of N64 games that I think would be really cool to play through with a bunch of people, show them some games they might not have seen before. And again,
Oh, heck yeah.
I don't need to be. We don't need to be the biggest things on the internet. We just need to be a big deal to some people, and I think it's there, and I think there's a lot to learn. There's a lot for me to, you know, for us to figure out. But if we try and do some cool stuff that we don't really see too much on the internet, yeah, not see, but like see
Here.
things, and yeah, well, no, but hear and see. You know, I mean, it's just if we can just put our spin on it, I think it's something that could be really cool. I mean, I don't know. I mean, we're entertaining. At least I think we're entertaining, and I hope to keep entertaining. I mean, because that's, I don't know, man. Like that's with this whole job switch and, you know, moving to a different city and, you know, getting out of the college town and trying to focus on that. It has been a lot of like, what am I doing? What do I want to do? And I can't really nail it down to like a job, but I really just want to entertain people, you know?
Yeah.
Like,
I think you're definitely have a calling for that.
like that's all I want to, whether in whatever capacity it is, whether it was the radio show, you know, I still do my local music show too, which is awesome. So, you know, which is another show I started. If you're interested, I've done 39 episodes, Trevor. Actually, I just posted
Of Groovy Soup?
Yep, Groovy Soup. It's Ohio. It's a show all about artists and bands in Ohio. I do 2 interviews, so I mean that's almost 80. That's almost 40 hours of audio that, you know, you could listen to if you want to check out some new music from the state of Ohio. That's one thing I've been up to.
I will be honest with you. I ran out of new episodes of some of my more favorite podcasts the other day at work, and I was like, you know what? Let me go check out this Groovy Soup thing that Paul's been doing for a while. And I listened to a couple episodes while I was working.
Yeah, well, that's awesome. I mean, what did you think of it? I mean, you could be honest.
It's sweet. I was actually surprised. I feel like, well, it's funny, you know, I've known you since you very first started with radio.
Mm-hmm.
So it's funny to hear you now. Like, I feel like you've developed such a like radio voice, I guess, and in those what do you call them? In those episodes, I guess you take on a very much like interviewer role, and have to go and explore like kind of what the person, you know, why they do what they do and what kind of music they create and things like that, and really like dive into them. So it was interesting to hear you kind of switch from, you're still like your normal radio voice, but you took on more of a almost like an Oprah interviewee role.
Yeah. It's interesting you say that, because there's such a different approach that I take to all 3, you know, my 3 major audio things that I've done. But like, first things first is like, I'm just so much more comfortable behind a microphone now, and just, you know, one of the things I learned from the morning show is not everything you're gonna do is perfect. You're gonna, and some of those interviews and some of those questions and stuff, it's not the best, you know, and I'm okay to admit that, because that's just one thing I've learned. You're not going to have a killer break. You're not going to have a killer interview or something every time. But yeah, I take a very, very different approach from hosting my radio show to doing those interviews and to this. I mean, because in reality, this is just talking to my friends, like with a little bit of the rigmaroles in there to get that podcast format. But you know, doing the radio show, it was just, you know, taking on the persona, and I didn't do like a fake DJ thing, but it was being energetic and looking up things and a different approach. But when I do the interviews for Groovy Soup, a lot of the bands, this is that shows their first big media thing, and big is in quotations. But I mean, we're a radio station that when we're at full power, I mean, we can reach a good chunk of Southeast Ohio, and potentially 20,000 people could really be listening. When you look at our areas and the population and stuff, that's a number, again, with a little asterisk next to it. But I mean,
I mean, it's the main channel for the area.
Well,
so
I mean, exactly. It's I mean, for these artists, it's exposure for your song, and for people that don't know about Southeast Ohio, it's not the most wealthy portion of the world. I mean, the United States for sure, but
that's for sure.
Radio is still a big deal to a lot of people. It's still a medium that is used a ton, for people, and it's a great way. And we stream it online too. So I mean, we've do the interviews with people. I had people on this week from Cleveland, so they were able to listen from 4 hours away, and it's the reception that you hear from those people when they're like, thank you, thanks for letting us have it, and that's why I keep doing it, and but yeah, so it is. I also try to make those interviews because I'm learning a lot about music through it, and sometimes I think they think I know more about music than I really do. But I really try to make it not interviews can be intimidating for people. You know what I mean? Like,
for sure.
Yeah, and any interview, job or anything, but that when you're talking to people is one thing, but then when you start broadcasting it changes the dynamic. So like one of my philosophies in interviews that aren't supposed to be, too hard hitting in terms of like I'm really digging for a specific answer about something or something like that, is to make it a comfortable setting for you to just explain. I really just want to ask questions that have them explain what they do, just so just to tell us, because we don't know. You know what I mean? I don't know what it's. I've never. One of the some of the stories that I've heard are, we had a guy that's homeless and travels the country and plays ukulele. People that literally took a garage and converted it into a studio and stuff. So it's like that's this. Just tell me about that. I mean, that in itself is so interesting and so fascinating, and that's why I think podcasts are such a popular thing too, because there's so many small things about life that can be really interesting. Because I think a lot of the small stuff in our day-to-day worlds we take for granted. You know what I mean? There's just so much awesomeness, and that or creativity. Awesomeness is kind of, I think, too light of a term, too positive a term. I think creativity is the better word there, that people put in to achieve their goals or to follow in with projects they're passionate about. So it's cool, man. It's been I wish it was a bigger deal. I can't lie, and I wish, but who doesn't? Who right? Like, I mean, who wouldn't want their thing to be the big thing? But I've had some great. It's been awesome, and it's really cool that I get to keep doing it from afar as well. And I mean, so yeah, I mean, in August it'll be close to a year, so that'll be around like the time where it will be 100 interviews of different bands. I mean, no matter where it goes,
wow, that's impressive.
I mean, yeah, I mean that's the thing. Like, no matter where it goes, no matter what happens, and no matter where I go, I mean, I'm gonna still chalk that up as a big time success. Because I mean, the thing with that is, for those who, if you do check it out, it just sounds like a podcast. I do all of the stuff for the show, and here I am rambling. I feel like that's all I've done since. I feel like I haven't even let you talk, Trevor.
Yeah, for real, Paul. Let me get back to me for a second here.
But it's it's a show that I do everything for. I schedule the interviews, I do the interviews, I edit the interviews, I produce the show, I host the show, I do like most, and I could do a better job promoting it, and so could the station, in my opinion. But it's just a project I love. It's a passion project, and it's really cool. And I'm no matter like I said, no matter what happens, I think it's been awesome, and it's been really cool to do.
That's what I was gonna chime in with is I guess my main feedback going and listening to it is just you can tell listening to the episodes that it's definitely your passion project because you've definitely put the work into it. So
yeah,
it's cool.
Yeah, and
it's interesting.
Yeah, and that's and just with the whole theme of what we've been talking about, it's like if you care about something, just go for it. I mean, the worst that can happen is doesn't work out the way you hope it is, and I'm just such a big believer in that. At least you tried, at least you did the thing, because and that relates, I think, going back to the topic or the thing I didn't even let you finish of your big of your big move. Like when you moved, you didn't have your job yet, right? Like if I recall, if I recall correctly, you made your big move. Amanda had school. That was about the only for sure thing that was lined up for you guys, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I was gonna say earlier you were talking about which thing was it? It was just on the top of my mind. I'm sorry, Paul. I totally forgot. But yeah, when I moved out here, basically I just wanted to move and get out into something new and, find a career path for myself. And it just so happened that Amanda was going to be going to school here. So I followed her here and, I'll be honest, I think we had been here about a month and I was like, yeah, I'm going to go interview for IKEA because I am losing money and I'm not going to be able to make this work, if I don't have funding soon. And so I went and interviewed for IKEA, and then the next day my dream job of all the jobs that I was interviewing for and working on, my dream job was the one that called me and was like, we want you to come in for a second interview and continue this process. And they ended up hiring me. So I ended up calling IKEA and saying, sorry, never mind. We're all good now. I had a minor panic attack, but we're all good now. So, but yeah, it was just, I wanted to get out into the world and forge my path, if you will.
Right.
So yeah.
Well, and for those wondering, where Utah, Trevor made the and no small move either. I mean, you've been Ohio through and through. I know might have been a little bit of change in there, but a lot of bouncing around Ohio. So just like when I left for school, I mean, you leave everything kind of behind. I mean, you really do forge. It's a whole new life out there that you have made for yourself. And it's been really, really cool to see, the change. And honestly, your story is one of the ones that helps me keep going because, while I
appreciate that, man.
And I've had some interviews and stuff, and unfortunately, everything that I've applied for out here has fallen through. But I just got a job at basically the equivalent of Bagel Street Deli for those who know what I'm talking about. But so I'm just doing whatever right now, but I'm still gonna go out. And I'm still going to try because, like you said, that all it takes is one next phone call. I mean, I got to be interviewed to be the PA announcer for a WNBA team. Like, sure, I didn't get it, but hell yeah, at least I still can say I got an interview for it, and still did that. So it's been really cool. And your dream job, it's web design, and I know cars were involved for a while there, so it checked every box for you.
Dude, honestly, my job right now is a whole completely different job from when I started 2 years ago.
Really?
It's pretty awesome actually. I've sort of I've just taken on a lot of different projects and things like that, and have sort of made my way through a lot of different departments, I guess, of the company. I guess I should explain. I work for, I guess I could say I work for KSL. It's the major Channel 5 news station here in Salt Lake City. And where I started was on the web side, essentially posting in the, or inputting the advertising into the websites for, the news website. We go in or if you go to the web page and you see an ad across the top or the side or whatever around an article, like that was something that we would put in on my team. And I'm still doing that now in some capacity, but I've also taken on, we have the KSL classified section, which is essentially Utah's version of Craigslist. And that has a whole cars section, and the cars section is sort of competing with like your autotrader.com or your cars.com. And so we have partnerships that we have with dealerships on that site, and all sorts of new and used inventory and things like that. And so I have sort of made my way into this role of like car operations. So essentially I'm in the back end making sure that the dealers are getting what they want and their cars are showing up on the site correctly. And it's pretty awesome. I get to work with like developers. I get to work with salespeople. I still work on the advertising side as well with like the main news website and other sections of the classifieds. And we're always innovating and bringing in like new products and things that have to be figured out and built and things like that. So it's been pretty exciting. It's every day is something new to have to solve.
And it's so cool that you've gotten to go do so much different stuff, and it's great experience. And no matter what department you're in, or if it was your cars or anything, it's so cool because you went to school for marketing, right? If I recall correctly.
Yeah.
And I never saw you as a marketing guy, sitting behind the thing. So for you to be able to use your creativity in something that works so well for you, I can't imagine a better thing for you than, hey, come, I got these pictures of my car, and then you going through, and I needed to pop on a website and make it sellable. So not only do you get to use what you went to school for in like marketing and that stuff, but you get to look at cool cars. And I'm sure you also, in your knowledge of cars too, I think probably offers good feedback when you are developing that presence for them. I'm assuming, right? If you're like, hey, I know this is a car that is a sport car. You know me, dude. I don't know what I'm talking about, but let's get some more footage of that. So when they click on this, the tires or something, it can show it doing a sweet turn.
If you don't mind indulging me for a second, my go-to story is we had a dealership that was like, hey, because one of the things with the site is it has, when you're going to post a car for sale, it can automatically take the VIN number and run through the VIN number in order to post like, the make, the model, the trim, all that kind of stuff. I might have lost you already.
Most likely, I'm trying to follow, but continue, please.
But anyways, we had a dealer who was trying to post a car for sale, and they were like, it's not working, like your VIN decoder is not doing anything and not pulling any information, and like it won't let us post, and this, that, and the other thing. And so I go and take a look at these cars. There was like 2 or 3 cars that they were trying to post on our site, and I took one look at, like, it wasn't a VIN number, it was a what's it called? It was a different type of like VIN number essentially, but I knew, I was like, oh, these are Japanese cars that have been imported. So I was able to, that was like my own car nerd knowledge. I was like, oh yeah, these are imported. They're all right-hand drive. Like you can't just, they don't have VIN numbers. Like you can't just post them for sale. And like you can't even put in the mileage because it's in kilometers. Like, you have to convert it and things like that. So it was funny because like everyone in my department pretty much was like, why do you know this? But
I feel like I've asked you that same question a few times.
Yeah, so no, it was cool though. And the dealership was stoked because they were like, oh, you guys figured this out for us. Like, that's pretty awesome.
Well, yeah, that's a prime example of what a great benefit you get to bring to what you do. So there's no doubt that I'm sure anytime something car related comes through that place, they're like, all right, where's Trevor? We need Trevor on there. And on top of that, you get to have Street Fighter breaks or whatever during your lunchtime. You got a whole company outing to go see Avengers. I mean, you've found a pretty sweet place, and on top of that, you're in a beautiful part of the country, and you're living with your you and Amanda have been dating for 5 years? Close?
Coming up, yeah. We just passed 4. Coming up on 5.
Okay, so 4. You just passed 4?
Yeah.
Wait.
April.
Okay, yeah. So 4 years, and
yeah,
and you got 2 dogs now, which So
oh yeah.
So it's been pretty awesome, man. Like, I mean, that's really cool, and it's super awesome to see that. So. Yeah, you got that cool job. What else? Give us the brief rundown of Utah life and the stuff that you've been up to and the dogs and all that stuff.
Dude, I mean, like you said, it's a beautiful place.
Some interesting rules, though.
Yeah, interesting rules. I don't think we have enough time to get fully into all that kind of stuff. Let me just say it took me like 4 to 6 months of living here before I realized that you can't just get full strength of beer from anywhere. So for like 4 to 6 months, I was drinking 3.2% beer. And then once I discovered I could get full strength beer from the liquor store, I got fucked up because I was like, I hadn't been drinking real beer for months. No, I was going to give you the rundown, though, on the dog situation. We've got our newest puppy is Faye. She is a Aussie Poodle mix, and she is just a ball of energy.
How old?
She just turned 6 months, so she's smarter than all of us.
Right.
But we still got Copper. He's our old man. So when Faye's getting into shit, Copper just kind of, groans and sits on his rocking chair. No.
and if I recall correct, Copper, I thought, wasn't the biggest fan of other dogs.
Yeah, he's not. Excuse me. It's interesting. He was fine when we first adopted him, and then as he started to kind of get used to us and get used to like his new life with us, he just started getting really aggressive when he would encounter other dogs out, like just, out and about. And at first we were like, oh, maybe it's just certain types of dogs, because it happened with like a German Shepherd that kind of got in his face, and he got like, he gets his mohawk up and gets like barking and growling. But then it started to just kind of be all the time, and then we were like, man, like we really can't take him to the dog park or anything. Like he'll just run out and chase down a dog, and like it's just too, it's not like in a playful way or anything like that. Like it's too aggressive, and people were like kind of frustrated with us when we'd show up to dog parks, and we don't want to be those people, So we were like, shoot, he's got some issue with dog or with dog aggression or something. And so we would kind of be really careful about where we would take him, and we'd always keep him on leash. And we were kind of training him to, when he'd see a dog, we got him now to a point where like when he sees a dog, he just kind of whines and gets his little mohawk, but he doesn't like jump and go crazy. Mm-hmm. But what's interesting is we had heard a lot of stuff about, if you have other dogs that live in the house with you, they can kind of make the more aggressive dog kind of warm up to dogs. And so we started watching like some of our friends' dogs and things like that, and we noticed if we brought the dog into the house while Copper was in his crate, they could kind of meet through the crate, and he would kind of have his little conniption for a second. And then once he calmed down and saw that like the dog was just chilling with us in the house, then we could let him out, and like they'd be totally fine, and they'd like play together and like just be totally chill. So after a little while of that, we were like, let's see if we get like a puppy, because Amanda really wanted a puppy to be able to kind of raise and have it be exactly the way we want it to be, and be able to run off leash and take it on hikes and things like that. Which we do with Copper, but we got to put like a vibrating collar on him and
it's the same.
That kind of stuff.
Dot has her quirks too. That's the thing.
Exactly.
It's like the one negative, quote unquote, from getting a shelter. It is you adopt the dog and their backstory too. So it's just like, Dot is a nightmare on the leash, and I'm trying to get her better. And like, she's great with other dogs, but has a little bit out of aggression, especially when small dogs are like, if she feels intimidated or when she's being controlled on the leash, she gets a lot more aggressive. So like, when I walk her, I usually try to avoid the dogs. And the dog park for me also just stresses me out too, because it's like, I know she can be fine, but also things I know could not be fine. And it's just like, so it's like, I want her to go be around other dogs and run. But that's the other thing. And it's like, she's young too, though. So I think when she grows up a little bit, she'll calm down as she takes up half the couch next to me.
I know. I think one of my dogs was trying to break in the office door here. They hear me in here talking.
Because I did not expect a second dog, but I wasn't surprised. Amanda is an animal lover. I know that she was all about animals. Which I'm the same way. If I could afford it and I had a little extra space, I wouldn't be opposed to 2 dogs. So how hard is it? A 2-dog lifestyle.
Oh, well, that's the thing. I was gonna say, I don't know if you know that we moved back in October.
Yeah, I didn't know that when you moved, but I saw that you got an actual like house with a yard and a very nice little setup you got going on.
So once we got out of the apartment and we got a place that actually it has a fenced-in yard and stuff, super nice. That was the point where we were like, oh, what about getting a second dog? Like, that could be cool. So having 2 dogs here at the house is totally fine. Like, we got enough space that they're not constantly like in your face, and everyone can kind of have their sanity, I guess. But let's see, where was I going with that? Yeah. Oh, I was gonna say, your experience with Dot was kind of our experience with Copper. And that's not to discredit, like, he is probably one of my favorite dogs that I'll ever own.
Right.
And I love that we adopted him, and he just is this goofball old man, and we can chill on the couch, or he'll curl up on my feet when I'm here at my desk, kind of a thing. But he just isn't super cool about strange dogs.
Yeah, and I mean, that's it. Dogs have their quirk. That's the thing. Dot's my first ever dog, so it's like, as much as she drives me crazy, she also just absolutely destroys my heart. And like, I was gone for a week, and like, I was like, what's my dog doing? I had to get her a dog walker because my buddy who lives with me now, because Ben and our other roommate Art here, his work schedule is brutal. So it's like, all right, well, I gotta make sure, because she couldn't be sitting inside for as long as she is, just out of fairness too. But it's just like a whole different perspective, and it's just because it is a dog, but it's not just a dog. Like, once you get a dog, once you get a dog, that I can definitely see where that takes over. But we're starting to, I didn't know how long we were gonna go, Trevor, and we got plenty of rolls, so I'm not gonna to sign us off yet. But before we go, for those who do follow us, know we are a little bit into the video games and all that good stuff. So
video games.
E3 coming up here. Have you been following anything? What's your current knowledge level on the world of video games, Trevor?
So let's see here. I'll be honest, I haven't been super up to date on E3. I know Sony is not coming, I guess.
Sony is not there, but it's not more of like what you've heard, or just like, have you been following games lately? Like, have you have you fallen off on video games? Where are you at?
So I kind of have, well, going back to you were talking about Utah a little bit. I was gonna say I since living in Utah, I've now been climbing, like, I climb probably 3 to 5 days a week.
Right.
So I've a big chunk of my life has been working, and a big chunk of my life has been climbing. So I'll be honest, I have kind of fallen off video games a little bit. When Apex came out, I was huge into Apex for a few weeks. But a lot of my coworkers are like, more on the Nintendo Switch or more on PS4 or whatever. So I didn't really have too many people to play Apex with, so I kind of got burnt out on that.
Apex is much more fun when you can talk and play with people, for sure. Well, now that Ben and I played a bit, and it's just like I only really want to play Apex if Ben's playing.
Yeah, exactly. Like you get your squad, and that game is hella fun. So I definitely put some hours into that, but I haven't been playing too much recently. But I have been watching very closely the Halo Master Chief Collection that will be coming to PC hopefully sooner rather than later.
It's interesting how they're doing that. Hold on. I think my mic isn't recording on my end anymore.
Oh, no.
Okay, now I'm getting levels. I think it was, but anyway, sorry. I had a brief technical hiccup on my end, everybody. But
we can splice some stuff back to this part.
We know how to do that. But no, and I'm not too surprised to hear that. I probably out of everyone on Chatpack am still the only one that's like very into video games. But in terms of E3 next week, is there anything that you're hoping to see? Anything that you're hoping to learn more about that you might have heard? I know you mentioned Master Chief Collection, and I would be shocked if we didn't hear anything about that next week in terms of some release dates. Or even though E3 isn't always with a big PC thing, Halo is going to be a big part of Microsoft's conference. So there's no way that you don't get because there's, like you said, there's that Halo Reach beta, and but there's no way that you're not going to get some release dates for at least the first few games they're going to release, or just a release date for something.
Yeah, so I've heard that. Well, so I've heard the Reach beta should be coming to PC like in June, which they said that for, I think, April, and I think they said that for May too. So we'll see if it happens. But I'm really hoping that maybe at E3 they'll be like, hey guys, the Reach beta's here and it's playable right now. You know how they do that sometimes?
I could definitely see that. I mean, if the rumors are saying June, that would be a great way. It would be smart. I mean, the servers would probably be overloaded and shit, but that's why you do a beta.
Exactly.
And people who complain about beta servers and not being able to connect, it's like, well, sorry guys, it's like that's the whole point of of them doing it. Unless it's like Fortnite is not a beta anymore. Like they need to get rid of that. Like that's where it's like, come on. Like now you're just saying it's a beta so you can do something. I don't know. It just doesn't make any sense to me. But is there anything else that you're like really hoping to see or dying to know more about?
Yeah, so I mean, I'm hoping for the beta. I'm sure they'll announce more with the Halo Master Chief Collection. I heard that there will be some stuff about Halo Infinite.
Yeah, there's gotta be.
I've also heard that there's some news coming with like future Xboxes, which I'm hoping might come along with more games for the PC. Like if we could get, a Gears ported over,
Gears
maybe
5's,
all of the Gears.
Gears 5's coming to Steam.
Gears 5's coming to Steam?
Yeah, you didn't hear that?
I heard that Microsoft is really pushing for Steam. Like they're going to put more games into Steam.
No, I think and I don't know if this is for sure, but in terms of a lot of strategy, I think if it's a big Microsoft release, the odds are it's going to be on PC. Maybe not right at at the same time as console, but because like Gears 5,
maybe
Gears
5 years later.
Yeah, and like
in the case of the Master Chief.
But I know Gears 5 is coming to Steam. Like that's a legit done deal. Like I know that for sure. So and I mean, there is a lot of talk of the new Xbox, and a lot of it is like this xCloud streaming where you can just stream games. They got Game Pass, which if Game Pass, if you're just trying to figure out a bunch about stuff, Game Pass is one of the best values in gaming. It's that weird thing where you don't own the actual games, but I mean, if you want to try stuff, it's a great way. And all new first-party Microsoft games are released on Game Pass. So like you could play Gears 5 if you had Game Pass. Like Crackdown 3 came out and it's like, I just got a month of Game Pass and it's like, so I wanted to play Crackdown 3, saw and knew that it was going to be a pretty mediocre game. Now I can just play it for $10, and and sure I don't own it, but it's like it's a game I really probably didn't need to own. Yeah, it's like, and there's so many indie games and stuff that you'll get to experience, but yeah, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see if it'll be a full console like unveiling from Microsoft. But the future of console, the next gen of consoles is next year. That's what everyone's counting on. And I still have my first Xbox, so I'll probably be ending up just waiting to hear what they announce for that and upgrading then instead of just going to an X. I probably should just invest in a PC, but man, I do love my video game consoles, dude. I don't know what it is. I don't.
I've been debating upgrading. Well, so I'm my most recent console that I own is a PlayStation 3. So I've been debating upgrading it, but it essentially is just our streaming box. Like we watch Netflix and Hulu and all that kind of stuff on it.
I will say this though about upgrading. The PS4 has some of the best games of this generation. There's really nothing that an Xbox, that's just on Xbox One that would get, I think, someone of your caliber really hooked on it. I mean, obviously, Gears is good. Halo is fine. Halo 5 was actually, I never beat the campaign of it, but the multiplayer Halo 5 was fine. But like in terms of the PS4, God of War,
you don't even
God of War is like probably one. I haven't played it yet, but I know it's going to be good. It's going on sale soon for $20, so I'm going to pick it up then. Spider-Man Spider-Man was one of the most. It's probably some of the most fun I've had in a video game in years, and like I still like the Arkham games a little bit more, but I know how much you like the Arkham games, dude. Spider-Man is the Arkham games. Just as Spider-Man and a lighter tone ish. I mean, there's the story of Spider-Man. It's dark, and I mean the big twist. I think you can kind of tell, but it's okay. It's all right in terms of that. But like, dude, and you can get PS4s for cheap, So it's like if you can do all your streaming and play all these
some pretty awesome games.
Yeah, some really amazing games. So that's what I'd say. Because like you can get great bundles and stuff too. I mean, or I bet you if you go on Craigslist, you can find a steal. Because you don't need that's the thing. It's like you don't need an Xbox One, but you need a PS4 to experience God of War, Uncharted 4. Days Gone was supposed to be pretty good. I heard pretty mixed things about it, but The Last of Us Part 2, if it's going to come, I'm going to imagine it's going to come out on both PS4 and next gen. That's kind of my thing, because I think everyone's going to ditch the not backwards compatible. I think it's going to be a lot of that backwards compatibility. You can play this, you can do this, because I think that's what a lot of people want.
Dude, speaking of backwards compatibility and next gen, what are your feelings and or thoughts and or confusions about this Death Stranding game?
Dude, I don't know what I haven't, and I need to watch the stuff, but I don't have the slightest bit of.
Oh my gosh!
But all I know is
so hyped.
All I know is I'm probably gonna buy it day one, because Kojima makes good games, even though I haven't played a lot of them. He creates really fascinating worlds, and I can tell you that while I don't have a slightest clue what the hell is going on, I want to play that game. I'm a mailman, I guess, and dude, every time Kojima's tweeted, tried to clear up the gameplay style, he just is like, it's this and that, and everyone's just like, oh yeah, that clears it up. No one knows what this is going to be.
Clears mud.
But it's going to look cool, and the world itself's going to be really cool. I bet you there's going to be some meh stuff in there. Maybe the gameplay might not be the best, but I think it's going to be one of the most unique atmospheres we've seen in a video game in a long time.
We were talking about it in the office, and we were like, they had that most recent live stream, and we were like, this looks incredible. Like, the graphics look incredible. It seems like we saw some gameplay maybe, but we're still not really sure what it is. And then one of my coworkers was like, what if it comes out and it's just like a battle royale game or something like, or it's just like a farming simulator, like some random, like, I don't even know.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. It'll be interesting, but it's gonna. I can tell you that game is gonna sell a lot of copies because people just want to know what the heck Kojima has been up to. But I'm excited for E3. You know, like you're saying, people on the Switch. I'm hoping for since Microsoft and Nintendo have been partnering up. I'm hoping for a dope Smash DLC character that comes from the Microsoft family. You know, there's a lot of. Have you seen any of the? You probably haven't. The leaks and rumors around the DLC characters have been wild for Smash. Like there was one that said it was going to be the Vault Boy from Fallout, the Doom guy from Doom. You know, the Doom Marine.
I think I saw something about Marvel characters, and Marvel was like, "Yeah, maybe."
Yeah, no chances Marvel in that game because Marvel and Capcom do their thing. There's no way that they would Capcom would give them a Capcom character, and they already have Mega Man. So it's like there's no way. It won't be Marvel. It won't be Dragon Ball Z. But you like a lot of people have said the guy from Minecraft. He might be in there. I think
what about Master Chief?
You know, some people have said it's not unlikely when you have characters like Bayonetta and Snake in there. I just don't think he's the right pick. I think the right pick to go from a Microsoft-owned property into Smash is Banjo-Kazooie. Like I feel like I know Banjo is not, or the Minecraft guy. Honestly, because Minecraft could have a 6 stage. It's way more popular nowadays. But like in terms of Nintendo history, in terms of older fans and the diehard fans that have money to spend. Banjo-Kazooie, I think, would be it's a no-brainer. And honestly, I really thought like this would be the time that you'd see Banjo-Kazooie. I thought at the end of the release cycle, because they announced the full roster for Smash Ultimate before it came out. I really thought that this was going to be the time that we saw Crash Bandicoot and Banjo-Kazooie, 2 major mascots from across the aisle in Smash, because both of those characters make perfect sense, and while they're not specifically tied down to they are in terms of what they were released on. So like Banjo-Kazooie being the N64, Crash being the original PlayStations and stuff.
Yeah,
that when they're not. It's not, but Sony and Microsoft, they're not. Those weren't first party titles, but it has enough of the connection to the other one that it still brings in that history. So I felt like Crash was a little more out there, but when they released, they just remastered all of them and re-released them. So
yeah.
I really did think that was going to be it, because but I think there's definitely going to be a Microsoft rep in Smash, because they're working way too close together, and it makes Microsoft has never done or hasn't planned to do a Smash a fighter like Smash. PlayStation had theirs. Maybe that's why PlayStation doesn't want to put their people in, other than I think Cloud. I think Cloud was in PlayStation All-Stars Battle Royale. Was he not? I can't remember. Anyway,
I have no idea, man.
Yeah, I know exactly. But it'll be interesting. But I love E3. It's not as big of a deal, but there's still gonna be some cool video game stuff that happens next week.
Oh no, yeah, I'm excited for it regardless.
Yeah.
I haven't been playing as many video games more recently, but I've definitely been keeping up on them. Actually, I will say I have been putting in a lot of hours in the VR headset, man.
That's true. I have seen it. Beat Saber, man. I gotta play that.
Oh my gosh. So Beat Saber was like the first one that I like basically whenever I have someone come over and they want to try VR, I throw them into Beat Saber because it's really easy to get the hang of and it's super fun. And like when you start tackling some of the harder, difficulty levels, it just is a blast. Like you feel like a Jedi, right?
Right. I mean, you can't not feel like a Jedi. I mean,
but more recently I started playing. Have you seen the game called Super Hot?
Yeah, man, Super Hot. I beat that on console. Game's amazing.
Oh my gosh, in VR, dude, that game is insane.
I've heard that. I've heard it's really cool in VR.
It's so tight because like if you stand perfectly still, like time stops, and then you can kind of
plan out
like
your move.
formulate. Yeah, and so you end up being in these like really bizarre, like, you know, almost like your what is that called? All I can think of is hula. When you go underneath like the bar.
Oh, wait. Oh, limbo.
Limbo. All right. I don't know why that word just escaped me.
I was like, what the
I was
fuck
like,
is he talking
hula, something. No, yeah, you're like in this weird like limbo position where you're like bent backward and you're like barely standing up, and then you're looking out of the corner of your eye at like this gun that's hovering in the air, and you're like, I think I can reach that before this dude kills me.
Dude, I love that game.
It's tight.
God dang it! Hold on. Wouldn't be fun if it wouldn't be a going back to it. No, Super Hot's a great game, and it's affordable. If you can't play it in VR, play it on console. I highly recommend it. But Trevor, we've been talking a little bit over an hour. It's getting a little late on my end, so I think we're gonna wrap up this. I guess season 3 premiere of Chat Pack, which is really cool because I mean going back over. We did way more episodes than I think any of us thought we were going to do senior year. So that's been cool. But Trevor, thanks for hopping back on the mic. And hopefully this is step 1 of a multiple step journey into something cool.
Yeah, I mean, I think you hit on it earlier. You said with Groovy Soup, you don't necessarily hit it out of the park with every single episode. But in my opinion, I feel like with things like this, consistency is kind of the key.
Right.
So that was my drive in pushing and messaging you guys so much to get something going. Because I think if we could just get together every once in a while and shoot the shit for like an hour, we might actually come up with some pretty cool stuff.
Yeah, and like I said, and like we said, we were doing this. I mean, we do have a Twitch. Follow that Twitch. There's a good chance that video games are going to start popping over there. So till next time. What about Caleb?
I was gonna say Caleb keeps asking me to play Apex with him. So now that he's got an actual internet connection,
yeah, exactly. That was another
so
thing.
Maybe we'll stream that.
Yeah, there you go. I mean, and if crossplay is I don't know if Microsoft or if Xbox to PC is a thing yet, but if we can do that, then we'll definitely do that as well. But as always, you can check us out online. I mean, we do have our social media page for Chatback has been dormant for many a month. So just keep it tuned to us. We'll keep posting stuff, and we'll start slowly building things. Thanks for checking out this show. And Trevor, you have yourself a wonderful rest of your week, man. I'll talk to you real soon.
Yeah, you as well, Paul.